So you're interested in doing a startup pharmacy? Great. We are finding many millennial aged pharmacists that are having trouble finding pharmacies to buy. A lot of those are attending the NCPA ownership workshop and are looking for particular answers with respect to how to handle this. And by the way, let me just recommend right now that you attend the NCPA ownership workshop. Just do a quick Google to find out when the next one is. 3 will be given in 19, 3 will be given in 2020. So just please check that out because that's 2.5 days of intensive knowledge-based information that you need to be aware. In that process, you'll be exposed to the financing aspects of startup pharmacies with pharmacy niche banks, which are critical. And let me just say here, if you're talking to a local or regional bank about financing a startup pharmacy, don't. Let me repeat, don't, because they don't understand the fact that pharmacies are cash flow based entities, not collateral based loans. They typically will not structure the transaction for enough period of years, nor will they provide to you the appropriate working capital that you can typically get with a pharmacy niche bank. Obviously, you need to also have the correct team in place to make sure that you have the necessary advice as you go through this process. Some 6 to 9 months out is not too soon to get that team in place. That team includes not only the financiers, it includes healthcare legal specialists who deal only with independent retail pharmacies and the financing and the closing of those transactions. It includes regulatory experts. It includes obviously wholesalers and PSAO conversations. It includes obviously um, knowledge-based CPAs who deal with pharmacies like ourselves. That in our case we deal with nothing but pharmacies all across the country. So you need that team in place to help and to guide you in this process as you begin to search out the best options for the financing and the operation of your pharmacy. Obviously, the entity structure is going to be a critical element in this process, deciding on that correct entity structure. That will be discussed in depth at the ownership workshop. But let's just say our typical go-to type of entity is an LLC taxed as an S corporation. That's not an automatic situation, but that's typically the go-to consideration that we have for different reasons that we discuss in detail at the ownership workshop. Uh, Obviously, the one we see the most when we get calls from potential startup pharmacists is the lease situation. A lot of times we'll get the call and say, "Well, I've just signed a lease," and I ask the question, "How long is it?" And they'll say, "Well, it's for 10 years, and I've personally guaranteed it, and it's $7,000 a month, and I'm renting 4,000 square feet." Well, that's a recipe for disaster in most cases. You typically can handle a pharmacy for less than 2,000 square feet, typically 1,200 to 2,000 square feet for a pharmacy. 15 to $20 a square foot, pretty much nationwide, is really what you want to try to be paying. That's going to be very difficult in urban areas. I was talking to someone yesterday in Colorado, and they were looking at a $47 per square foot lease amount, and they just cannot do that as a startup with $47 per square foot. So be very careful on the lease structuring. Make sure you've got somebody advising you that's in the real estate arena that's not self-conflicted on the lease process. It's something that obviously your legal, healthcare, and your accounting and tax people need to be involved in. And once you get beyond that, obviously your third-party contracts, getting those in place far in advance before opening is critical because you cannot open your pharmacy until these third-party contracts are in place. And typically, that's the one item that holds up a lot of pharmacies from opening up timely. And we advise you to recall that your PSAO can get most of your contracts, but cannot get typically your Express Scripts, your Optum, your Caremark, and things of that nature. So all these aspects need to be worked together. You need a quarterback, if you will, of this process. We certainly can engage. We certainly can be engaged in that process to assist you with all these aspects and get you to the right experts. But this is just an introductory into what we'll be talking about on some videos as we go forward here.